Suze, and welcome to today's episode of Keep the Bad Guys Away. Hey, nice to see you. Hey, I want to tell you a little bit more about what happened most recently up in Barrow, Alaska. And why that is so important is because almost a parallel situation is occurring at work. So, I never went to law enforcement school or, legal school or anything like that. But boy, I mean, you can just see it. It's right out there in front of you. Very similar where I am now and then up in Barrow. Very similar as to what happened in Bethel, Alaska over a year ago. But this is what these guys are doing. So this is the FBI, CIA, Al-Qaeda task force or forces, which the ringleaders are this Mark Moore, the CIA guy, and then this FBI agent, this Chris Byers, and his little cohort and crime friends, Agent Darren Murphy, Sloan, and let's see, who are some of the other ones? Those are the main ones that I know. But apparently the mother of my son's half-sister, from what I briefly know about that situation, apparently she had a whole nother team violating her. So whether or not it was the same people under different names or if there are more people, just different people, I'm not really quite sure at this point. But definitely in my situation, it's FBI agent Chris Byers and his little cohort in crime friends and this damn Mark Moore. So up in Barrow, Alaska. Now, first of all, I just want to let you know. So ICE Customs at the airport in Houston got me Special Agent Paul Burkholder. They were so nice to do that. And boy, if you just followed along day by day, you can really see the pattern that everybody is trying to steer me away from his district. And how they do that is that they steer my nursing employment. Because see, if I'm not working as a nurse, which has been my only source of income, then I wouldn't be able to keep in his district. I mean, literally not even right next door. I mean, I wouldn't have a place to live. I wouldn't have food, that kind of thing. So that's what they're doing. I mean, all the hospitals in Texas, and of course, there's never ever a job in Texas. And if there is a job, it's one that they had set up a sting operation on. I mean, just to give you an example on that quickly, I got an email today from Texas Select Staffing that's up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they are responsible for putting me in Richmond, Texas last year, which is Fort Bend County, and working on conducting a sting operation. I picked up on it right away, and I actually left that job, and I reported the whole situation to Special Agent Paul Burkholder. So, that's why I said I get violated all the time, so I can pick up on the early signs and symptoms very quickly. But Texas Select Staffing sent me an email today, bogus kind of crap email, trying to figure out where I am. So I just, printed off the email and I faxed it down to my agent. So, so here we go again, that kind of thing. But this is what they're doing. So what happened in Barrow, Alaska? Of course, I can't get a job anyway in a decent hospital near Special Agent Paul Burkholder. Of course not. And even when I do, which I did in one of the county hospitals down in Harris County at the last minute, they switched me from one hospital to the other. They switched me from Ben Taub and the PACU to Lyndon B. Johnson. The travel nurse company did that. So it was an effort to push me out of his district. So anyway, so I flew up from Houston, Texas up to Barrow, Alaska. I mean, I like Alaska. I actually like taking care of the native people. I'm like, fine, I'll go up there for 13 weeks, no problem. The Alaska State Troopers already cited the FBI on one issue. So, I mean, they know my case. The marshals know me up there or whatever. So I thought I'd go up there, okay, I won't have any problems for 13 weeks. Oh my gosh, right away. Very first day. Okay, so the manager that hired me, Cindy, she was apparently on vacation. And so the person in charge, Marianne, who does some kind of office nurse work in administration, and she's also one of these SANE nurses. If you don't know what a SANE nurse is, it stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner. So why that's important is that ties into this Tara Hardy, who's this big SANE queen who used to be president of the IAFN, and which is International Association of Forensic Nurses, who's married to the corrupt cop Sergeant Hardy up in Anchorage. But anyway, so are you feeling the connection here? So Marianne, the very first day that I come in, she came to me at lunchtime and told me that my perfume was apparently, offensive. It was too much. And she sent me home. She told me not to clock out but sent me home, and so, I could like take a shower and come back with fresh clothes with no perfume. And so like some of the other travel nurses I was working with, Kenny being one of them, he's like, I can't believe, these guys are just like, oh, they're just mad because you're the cute nurse and you're up here. And I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to take away their husbands. Like, I don't even want a boyfriend. I don't even need a boyfriend. So if they're trying to think I'm up there, like, gonna like hit on their man, or whatever, I'm like, that's just absolutely ridiculous. So that was sign number one right there. But even prior to me starting that first day, right when I landed, so I should say that Marianne, that was sign number two, because the day before, right when I got off the plane, there was nobody to meet me at the airport. Now that is different from what happened in Bethel, Alaska, in which there was someone from the Human Resources Department there to meet me and show me where I was going to live. So site number one, suspicious activity in Barrow, Alaska, is nobody was there to meet me at the airport, and I had to go through all kinds of hell just to get a place to live. And I mean, Barrow, Alaska is up at the very tip part of Alaska. I mean, there's like nothing up there. So then the next day, Marianne, sent me home because apparently I had too much perfume on, and that was offensive to the other hags that were there. These stupid physicians assistants and nurse practitioners who like don't wear any makeup and are basically the ugliest things on the planet. But okay, so then after that, it's like I could just tell they were all out to get me. I mean, even Kenny said, he was a travel nurse that was up there. He's just like, they're just out to get you because you're cute. Okay, well maybe. Okay, I don't really think that I'm that cute, whatever. But that was Kenny's perception. But after that, it was always like they were always looking for the stupidest little thing that they could possibly do to try to get me into some kind of trouble, like seamlessly ridiculous things, like just what happened the other day at the hospital. And so then that's number three. And then after that, so I needed to get my hair done because I hadn't been working for a while. So I go to get my hair done at the only place in town, and which cost me about $200, but this girl did an excellent job. And she was like, oh, I want you to meet one of my friends, he's like a really good guy and you guys could hang out or whatever, So I was like, well, all right, I suppose, whatever. So his name was Mike Mason. Now, Mike Mason worked for the city of Barrow. He was apparently one of the football coaches, and also, like, for the city, he did something as some kind of recreational kind of director or whatever. So, but so I'm like, okay, well, whatever. You can have him call me. I mean, you gotta remember, this is a like village town with just a few thousand people in it, scattered out. So, I guess it seemed all right. If he works for the city, sure, whatever. So she wanted to like hook me up with him, but then she was going on vacation. I mean, it's like everybody's going on vacation, and why that same pattern? I can see a pattern here is that one of the nurses at work, one of the charge nurses at work, all of a sudden she's just going on vacation too. It's like everybody's just going on vacation. So anyway, okay, so then after that, well, tied, intermixed in this. Now, up in Alaska, in a lot of these places, a lot of these rural places, they don't have a lot of housing options. It's not like where I am now, like staying in a hotel environment. So the hospital will actually rent out different places for you to live. And so they rented I guess they had this apartment condo, I guess apartment you could call it, on rental from one of the guys that worked for the fire department. So he lived on the bottom floor, his wife was native, and I lived on the top floor. And then the very first week that I was there, one of the nurses, she was an LPN named Debbie, and her sister was apparently a state trooper in, I believe, Oklahoma. So she's, going through and showing me all of her pictures of her sister being a state trooper. I was like, well, why don't you tell your sister about this damn jackass thing? I said, I need all the witnesses I can get. I got all kinds of identity theft, all kinds of crap going on. And she's going around, she's singing Ice, Ice Baby and all this stuff. And I'm still thinking, is this like some kind of, what the hell is going on here? Okay, all right, because I play Ice, Ice Baby all the time. I mean, this is how closely I watched. So, but anyway, so when I met this Mike Mason, so he came over, like I said, he seemed like a nice guy, at first. And then he talked about us going out, on Friday, and then me going to some kind of big football thing, and like us making all this food, and we were going to take it to this big football thing, whatever. So then he stands me up on that Friday. And then, so I didn't think about it. I was like, oh, just one other asshole. Because, I have my own home business. I've got other things that are going on. So, to me, I'm like, take it or leave it. So, but anyway, so I went to bed, and it was about 4 4:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden I just hear this bam, bam, bam. I'm like, holy crap, dude. Someone is like coming through the door. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, I got up from my bedroom, I looked down the hallway, and you could just like see the door just, bouncing so much that you just thought like in any second the next hit, someone was going to come right through it. So, I got on my phone and I called 911. And I'm like, dude, there's somebody at my door. So I don't know who the hell it is. And then, the police came out. And that was in one of my other videos. I talked about the police coming out, and they were questioning whether or not there was a forced entry in the doorway. It's like they kind of, on the one hand, this native officer, this female, I mean, she kind of took it seriously, but on the other hand, she's like, well, this is Mike Mason. And I'm still thinking, big fucking deal, dude. What the hell are you trying to come through my door at 4:30 in the morning? Drunk, apparently. But she did ask me if I saw him driving. And I'm like, no, I didn't see him driving. I was asleep when, and the heck, I got woken up by this whole thing. So, but anyway, so this guy got, he had a city truck issued to him by the city of Barrow. So he drove over his city truck. Now I have photos of it. And so I think I'll put one at the front of this video. I think I'm going to put one at the end of this video. So I've got his license plates and got pictures of the truck. But you can see where I was living there up in Barrow, Alaska. Well, so now, then I go back to work, and all of a sudden, because I got the football coach in trouble, the city guy that everybody loves, which is quite similar to, the fact that everybody loves the FBI, and, so I'm the bitch that gets the FBI in trouble, and this Mark Moore in trouble, so I get retaliated against. But up in Barrow, I got the football coach in trouble. Then I started getting the heat at work because a lot of these nurses at work had, had kids on the football team. So they didn't like it that, that Mike Mason got in trouble. I mean, technically if the police would have seen him drinking and driving, he probably would have lost his job. Not just cited for a DUI, but probably would have lost his job and his little truck and all that. But, intermixed in this, I want to tell you about this, is that apparently, like the first night that I met him, he didn't know if he was going to keep that job with this city. Apparently he had been looking for another job with a school district that was apparently going to pay him more money and like more benefits and something like that. And there was this whole thing, he was going back and forth, and he didn't know if his boss, who is apparently the mayor, who apparently lived right across the street from me, but didn't know if they were going to be able to, meet his financial needs or financial demands and all that. So he was telling me about that the first night that he was over at my house. So, but interestingly enough, like all of a sudden after meeting me, then apparently the mayor came up with a big, huge chunk of money, and he was able to keep his job. So that something reeks of like a big payoff or bribe up there. It's like sick a boyfriend on Susan to keep her busy, keep her occupied, and then we'll pay you off. I mean, this has occurred before. I know how these guys work. It's like what I call it, I have a blog on this, blog post, the government paid off boyfriends. So anyway, after that whole episode with the police coming out on that 911 call, I got a lot of hell at work. A lot of nurses were making up a lot of crap because, like I said, I got their like little star of the city in trouble. So what ended up happening is that then I was getting ready to go to work one night. And because they had actually they did this on purpose. They switched me from day shift to night shift, and it was punishment for getting Mike Mason in trouble. And then I'm getting ready to leave, and all of a sudden a girl comes in. Now Debbie had already left, my other roommate, and another girl comes in. Like all of a sudden, they didn't tell me that I was getting a roommate. She just comes in the door, I'm going to be your roommate. Well, I've got a big problem with property theft, so I just don't leave my stuff. Something wasn't right about this whole situation. And then this girl's telling me that her sister apparently works for the National Security Agency. I'm like, oh, really? Your sister works for the National Security Agency? Well, there's nothing wrong, per se, with the National Security Agency because I have actually faxed the NSA myself and got 100 pages under FOIA, and then I got this FBI letter that Senator John Kyle got for me. This is National Security Branch. And then I know that Homeland Security, they have their own National Security Branch. So there's just, generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with someone's sister being from the National Security Agency or working with them at some point, but it's awfully strange that someone like that would show up as my roommate in my situation. So it reeks of something. So it could be somebody from the NSA that's on the bad team, on the bad FBI team. Do you see? So I have to be very, very careful Well, so what I did is that I called in sick. I just called the hospital. I just said, I'm not coming. You know, because there was just something not right. I'm not going to have this girl come in and steal all my shit. Okay, and then, or come up with some kind of other scam or pull some kind of espionage plot, because, you know, that's what the NSA is big at doing, espionage. So, wasn't going to, you know, do that. I was going to sit home and, like, think about this. So what I ended up doing is that I transferred my Alaska phone to the ICE tip line, the 1-866-DHS to ICE. So then if anybody contacted me, like somebody at the hospital, somebody trying to pull crap, any of the friends, it would automatically forward to the Homeland Security ICE tip line. So, and then what happened after that is that a few of the nurses came over and they went and they picked up this chick whose sister works for the NSA, and apparently she had worked up there before. And one of the girls, I can't remember her name, but her husband works for the borough up there. I can't remember her name. What's her name? Not Cindy, Kathy? I don't know. I can't remember. I have to think about it. But anyway, so she says, oh, Susan, do you know that your phone's being forwarded? I'm still thinking, yeah, I did it, bitch. Get the hell out of my goddamn face. You know, of course, I was like, whatever. I said, I'm not talking about this. So they all skedaddled. But let me tell you, if you transfer your phone to the Homeland Security tip line, boy, everybody just disperses. So I knew I was in big trouble. I knew I was in majorly big trouble. And then apparently shortly after that, this whole corrupt crime ring of troops of nurses came back. Apparently they had called Cindy, the manager, and Cindy decided to move this girl that had just moved in, whose sister's apparently a sister works for the NSA, decided to move her out of that place and not me. Now, I'm the one that just had this guy, Mike Mason, trying to bust through my door. I'm the one that's got the whole entire missing family. I'm the one that's had so many near-death experiences as far as, you know, being almost taken out in many cities and states over the years that, you know, if anybody should be moved for safety, it should be me. But Cindy, the big fat bitch nurse manager up there, moved the other girl. Why? So I guess because Mike Mason knows where I live? Or is there, you know, some other reason, or she's just mad that Mike Mason didn't come in and kill me or kidnap me and throw me in the Arctic Ocean or whatever, you know? Her and that damn Marianne bitch and all those other fat fuck plain assholes up there. So, but anyway, transferring your phone to the ICE tip line scared the living hell out of them. So I had to sit on this for a couple days. And I called my nursing company, Meridian Medical Staffing, on Monday. You know, they have never ever anybody on the weekend for me to talk to. I called on Monday, told them what's going on. Of course, they sided with the hospital. This is what most of these travel nurse companies do. They side with the abusers, and it's done on purpose, because I'm sure Meridian Medical Staffing that set me up there, I'm sure there were contracts in Texas that they could have got me. But they purposely shipped me up to Alaska. And and I know that because I had called marshals up there in Colorado, and just based on what the marshals had told me in Colorado, you know, I knew where they were getting at. So, so they ship, Meridian Medical Staffing ships me up there and makes no attempt to get me out of there. Now, that was the second time Meridian Medical Staffing has done that. I worked down in Bethel, Alaska, and technically they were supposed to fly me out of Bethel, Alaska, and they didn't. So then I'm stranding up there in Barrow, Alaska, and they're not making any attempts to get me out, and then they're mad because the hospital's mad at me, you know, and the hospital cancels my contract. I was like, well, big freaking deal, dude. You know, I'm not going back to those bitches anyway. But, you know, problematic in that is that all of our mail went to the hospital because it's in a rural area. And so I had a bunch of packages sitting in there, including a Briggs & Riley luggage set. So I couldn't even go to the hospital and get any of the new stuff that I just ordered because all of the corrupt bitches there. So that was another problem. That was another effort to steal property. I know that there's such scum. But so what I ended up doing, without any other option, without any other help from Meridian Medical Staffing, and me being stranded in Barrow, Alaska, with a bunch of, you know, a crime ring that was obviously trying to kidnap me, is that I need to get out of there. The only plane out was on September 11th. So I flew from Barrow, Alaska, and, you know, I just can't stand the United States, and I keep trying to learn about how I'm going to live in another country, you know, Mexico being one of them. So I took a flight and went into Mexico and sat as close as I could near the military police. With my U.S. passport, got on a plane, hit about 6 airports within 24 hours, and went there. So, and you know, I would have actually stayed in Mexico and never come back to the United States. The trouble is that I ran out of money. And my own, like I said, my only work option is unfortunately nursing, and that's all they keep doing is hacking these hospitals, like they're hacking these hospitals where I am now. So I do want to know, I did file for a protective order. The domestic violence shelter up there in Barrow did help me file for a protective order against this Mike Mason. I threw on my Homeland Security letter. I threw on my International Criminal Court letter with that filing. However, I couldn't stick around to see if the judge ever granted it. But you know, you just can't do that when you've got a whole community coming down on you, literally a whole community, and what looked like might not be nobody helping you at all. I mean, that's all I said. The only thing that I could do is get the hell out of there, and I went to Mexico. But so you'll see this Melaleuca shirt that I have on tonight. So I have on Melaleuca jewelry, and I have on a Melaleuca bracelet, and I actually have a Facebook page. It's Melaleuca by Susan Knisely. So one of the things that I have done in an effort to combat all this organized crime that keeps happening is that I opened up a lot of online shopping stores. Now, Melaleuca is one of the companies. They sell health and wellness products, and you can have stuff delivered right to your home. And they're actually just also opened up a office in Mexico. So that's great for me. And so if you want to help me stay away from organized crime, you can always go to Melaleuca by Susan Knisely and think about signing up for a membership. But I'm telling you, that's the crap that I have to deal with all the time. If there's not a corrupt cop, there's a corrupt nurse. If there's not corrupt nurses, you know, then there's a corrupt somebody else. But a lot of times it's these nurses. Nursing's a hard enough job as it is, and taking care of these patients in the ICU and the emergency room. I mean, we're very busy. I mean, I got people's lives in my hand, and I got a bunch of damn corrupt nurses, you know, working in all these little sting plots that are not necessarily backed by all of local law enforcement, but it's definitely backed by the FBI, CIA, Al-Qaeda task force, these JTTF task force even, which some of them include local law enforcement. So that's how they're funneling this all through. But it would certainly be nice if the nurses that I work with weren't participating in such garbage. Now, if it is the job, or if somebody feels like I am deserving of punishment or deserving of some kind of sanctions, then it should be up to the job of the FBI, CIA, Al-Qaeda task forces to do it themselves rather than hacking all the nurses that I work with. But they've actually done that before. Mark Morris on that. So, but so the point of it is that these guys work in many, many, many different ways. If they're not working directly like this Mark Moore is, they're working in the back end with hacking all the nurses, or they're hacking all the travel companies. But the ultimate goal is to leave me homeless, starving, out on the streets with no property, and then they also send out boyfriends. Usually when they do this, they work in a pattern. They make sure I don't have a job. They make sure I run out of money. A boyfriend shows up, and willingly or unwillingly, I'm stuck in that damn situation. Usually unwillingly, because I don't want to date anybody. And the thought of dating anybody just makes me totally sick. But then they corral these little boyfriends around me, and so then I'm stuck in that mess. Against these dangerous guys I can't get away from. So that's a lot of where the sex trafficking comes in. Especially what happened down in Homeland, Texas, because obviously they were very, very pissed that I went into Mexico because I throw up major, major red flags. All of which, I don't really care, because if that gets the FBI in trouble, I don't really fucking care what they think. But they were bound and determined that when I got back to the United States, that they were going to take revenge, and they most certainly did in Hidalgo County, McAllen, Edinburgh, and Farr, and the city of Hidalgo, and the city of Mission. So all of Hidalgo County, they made sure that they took revenge because I went into Mexico. So that's all of law enforcement in Hidalgo County, all of them. And then Cameron County, which includes the Cameron County Sheriff's Office and the Hidalgo Police Department, they just worked in their co-conspiracy. But they were bound and determined they were gonna take revenge, because I got their little fucking friends in the FBI in trouble. So, but anyway, I think it's really time for the military police. But Anyway, that's today's episode of Keep the Bad Guys Away. And anybody would like to stay on the 18, that would be helpful. But I seriously doubt that anyone in America is ever going to change, because abusers rarely do. So I'll see you next time. Hey, it's Suze, and I wanted to add a little something that I forgot to this last video, because this is hella important when it comes to human rights violations. When I was up in Barrow, Alaska, I come home from work one night, and there was a notice on my door that said the heat and the electricity were going to be turned off. Now, the heat and electricity are supposed to be paid for by the hospital. So, and then I had to go through this whole runaround with the hospital as to why they were not paying my heat and electricity. And then Debbie, I contacted Debbie, the LPN that I worked with, whose daughter is an Oklahoma State Trooper or something like that. And she tried, the scam was, you know, that apparently, and this is according to other nurses too, apparently this happened before in that apartment, but I don't believe that. See, that is another thing that they try to do. They try to make up these lies that stuff like this has happened before, when, you know, to try to make it look like that this whole thing is just an accident. Keep in mind, this is espionage and this is organized crime. So they were trying to turn off my heat and electricity in the apartment that I was living in. So that also was kind of scary, because I'm in the middle of winter, or, you know, it's getting close to winter, at least I should say. I guess it was July, August, but getting close to winter in Alaska. It's already very, very cold up there. And then I had to go the run around with the hospital, and then they didn't want to pay it and all that stuff. They left notices on my door. So when that Mike Mason, when I had to make that 911 call, this is what I told the police up there. I'm like, look, you know, here's notices. They're trying to turn off my heat and electricity, you know, on top of this Mike Mason busting through my door and all this. And they're claiming that they can't find the landlord. And, you know, the police officer, this native chick, she laughed. She's like, oh, the landlord. You mean the guy that works for the fire department that lives downstairs? Yeah, that one. The City of Barrow Utility Company can't find the landlord when the landlord lives downstairs and works for the fire department. I mean, come on, this is such a small town in Barrow, Alaska. So they were trying to actually leave me without electricity, without heat up in Barrow. It was intentional. It was intentional by the hospital, and it was obviously intentional by the city. So that is definitely a place that I will never go back to. And it's a shame. I love the native people of Alaska. My trouble with going to Alaska is the white man. If it wasn't for the white man, I would probably live in Alaska. So, but anyway, that's the addendum.